I've worked at a Subway store for about 4 years now. Lame, I know, but it's great money, relatively easy, and I've truly made some lifelong friends while working there. Anyone that works in any sort of fast food shop is bound to have their fair share of horror stories. A friend of mine that used to work at a McDonald's almost got tasered once when she went to go take a customer's money through the drive-thru. Crazy shit. Anyways, apart from being robbed once while working and your general drunks, I never had much of a story to tell. That is until last week. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I was on until 5 p.m., and having started work that day at 6:30 a.m., I couldn't wait to get the hell out of there. It was around 3:30 when the other girl that I was working with complained that she felt really sick. I told her that I'd be fine working until 5 by myself, so she left. We aren't supposed to do that, and I probably shouldn't have, I know. But what can you do? So she left and time trickled by. We were dead as anything, so I got pretty excited when a customer walked on through. He looked like he was in his late 40s, had balding black hair, and ridiculously thick glasses, and a very sad demeanor about him. I greeted him with the usual, "Hi, how are you today?" in the most cheerful tone I could muster. Fine, was all that he managed to mumble out. Aren't customers awesome? He began ordering his sub, a process that usually takes me about under a minute, depending on how decisive the customer is. This particular customer, however, was choosing each and every aspect of his sandwich with such care, it was like it was going to be the last meal for him in the world. After a 5-minute debate on which cheese he wanted, I put his sub into the toaster. I hate awkward silences during the toasting time, so I like to spark up conversation with the customers. I began asking him how his day had been so far, and he told me that it had been one of the worst days of his life. The day before, I too had experienced a shit kicker of a day, and began to retell my experience. How it started with a 10-kilogram box of chicken schnitzels falling on my head, how my phone fell out of my work locker and the cold, hateful tiles obliterated the screen, how I then had to catch the bus home from work, only to realize 20 minutes in that I was on the wrong bus and on a completely opposite side of town, and how it ended with me having to walk home in the rain to find out that I was locked out. Real shitty day. To my surprise, the grumpy, indecisive man was now howling with laughter, with tears pouring down his face. Now, I admit, it was kind of funny, but not that funny. Although, I was glad to see he had some sort of happiness in him. I finished up his sandwich, and he went and sat down in the restaurant, happily chomping away. 10 minutes later, he came up to the counter and asked if he could borrow a pen. I handed him one, and he took the napkin and went back to his table. A further 10 minutes later, he returned with the pen and the now scribbled on, folded up napkin. He handed them both to me and asked me to promise him not to read the napkin until he was out of the shop and out of view. I gingerly agreed, and he left the shop and walked onto the highway that is in front of my store. I watched his car screeched around him as he walked without a care in the world to the middle grass island that separates the two sides. For a very long time, he stared down the highway and the oncoming traffic, like he was judging when it would be a good time to cross back over. But that couldn't be it, I thought. What the hell was he doing? As if he had read my thoughts, the man turned around with the biggest grin plastered across his face and started waving, a bit confused and very creeped out. I waved back. It was then that he stepped out in front of a log truck. I've never seen someone get hit by a vehicle before, and God, I never wish to again. I shoved the napkin into my pocket, leaped over the counter, and bolted outside. His body was lying 200 meters up the highway. People were screaming and crying. It was total chaos. I ran to him where a small group of people were gathered. I knelt down in front of his mangled body and immediately started bawling my eyes out. How was it that just 5 or so minutes ago this man was standing right in front of me, well and truly alive, and now he was dead and almost unrecognizable? It was then that I remembered the napkin, and this is what it said. To my dear fellow human, today I decided that it was going to be my last day on this horrid earth. It wouldn't be so horrid if my beautiful wife and daughter were still alive. But they're not. And today is the 1-year anniversary of their deaths. 1 fucking year since that idiotic drunk driver crashed into them at 110 kilometers at an intersection. They didn't deserve to die that night, but they did. And since then, I'm not the same person, but hell, who would be? I'm just a shell of my former self. Most people don't even bother with me anymore. And I know I can come off as a little rude, but I honestly didn't think I had any positivity left in my life and my soul. Until today. Until today, I hadn't laughed or smiled, for that matter, in a year. But you achieved the impossible. You made a sad old man cry tears of happiness. I wanted to thank you for that. For you put me on cloud 9 and made me realize that life isn't all that bad. But this is truly what I want. I need to be with my daughter and my wife. And that is just what I'm going to do. So again, thank you for making my year and helping me leave this earth with a smile on my face. P.S. Great sub.